Hi everyone, welcome back into the studio. We're going to continue some of our alla prima studies. I'm going to do a landscape today, and we're going to pull some of it right from here from our imagination, so I'll show you that, and then some of it from some real life reference type of stuff. I have a couple photos up here. I love the Scotch pine, and growing up on the West Coast, looking through the Sierra Nevadas and up into the Cascades of Oregon, I'd grow up, I see all kinds of the high pine trees and different types of high mountain pines, and the Scotch pine I really like, and so I have some reference photos of them up there. I love this photo with the solo one up there, so I think I'm going to do something like that. Maybe put a tall one right up through here, but put some more mountains and stuff into the background, and so that'll be a lot of fun. For today's palette, what I have out here is my Hansa yellow, Dahlia light yellow, yellow oxide, naphtha red light, burnt sienna. Now I'm putting out a neutral today, which is, if you don't have it, you can just take a little bit of the blue and red and burnt sienna mixed together. But this is a medium beige, and it's a nice color, a nice neutral to have into the landscape. So I'll use that. Today's blue is going to be a phthalo blue, and I'll be able to kick it over to blue violet with either my red violet or quinacridone violet. I have some titanium white out here, and then I have the slow drying medium, the open medium here by Matisse, Deravan Matisse, and which is what I use in a lot of alla prima paintings. I also have a cap of the extender medium here, which will make our colors a little thin and also really slow down the drying. And I like to do that in some areas like sky and stuff like that, and so I control the consistency. So a lot of you write, what's the difference between the open medium and the extender medium? And it has a lot to do with the consistency. And I filmed the floral earlier in the year. If you scroll back just a little bit, and you'll see where I explain a lot of the differences between the two mediums. Okay, so what I have here basically is a 21 by 13 inches this way, 21 inches this way board. It's an MDF board, and I just base coated it with some white and a little bit of the gray colors. Make a gray from your palette, anything, it's not going to stay that color. And I keep it up around a value 8 or a 9. Now, for making the landscape here, I'm just going to take a brush, maybe a little bit of water and some burnt sienna here, and I'm just lightly going to take my little square that I made here, and I'm going to go up maybe, let's go up today about 3/4 or about a little more than 3/4 of the way up here. And let's just put ourselves, well actually let's drop down just a bit like this. And I'm just going to put on a strong horizontal reference line here that is going to help me here as I do some of the sketching of it. Now I'm going to have my mountains go up above it and everything. But just to, if you're like me, I like to have strong, and you've watched some of the others, especially the landscape series, the challenges stuff, I like to put in strong horizontals, strong verticals. And I got that from another master who always says you got to have some of those somewhere into the painting, and that helps your visual track, because we create motion with the triangles, which is what I told you before, but we need to have some of these strong horizontals, strong verticals. Now the tree will be a very nice, strong vertical here, and I'm probably going to put it someplace up over here. So, and I want to break the plane, maybe put the tree, I like this one up there that goes up into the sky here a bit. It's going to break the plane of the mountains and stuff. So we'll put a tree. I do like some of the shape on that one here as well. So we'll draw some of this tree, and we'll give it maybe a nice trunk that pulls a little further down, because they can get real tall. And so that just gives me an idea where the plane is, where the mountains are going to be back here. And so I'll get a nice strong vertical, I'll get a nice strong line of the horizontal. Now this horizontal line is going to disappear, but it's going to help me as I start to sketch in some ideas. It's going to help me, keep that horizontal look to it. So you don't go at an angle here, okay? So let's come in here and let's just plan out some mountains, some back mountains, and some Sierras here, and we'll just kind of sketch these along. We can let them kind of fade down just a bit over here, so that tree will go up against the sky. That'll be kind of nice. here, maybe a little higher over here, just a bit here, okay. And I'll just take a little more paint, just real thin stuff. That's all I want to do. We'll come in here with a triangle here of some foothills. We'll come back here. Let's just come in. It's like idea, and that triangle, see, sets up your path of motion through. So I'll be able to put a lot of depth in between there and there. That's what I'm kind of looking for. We'll maybe come back up over here with one more right in there like that. Let's put the big kind of hill. As a matter of fact, I'll even use a little more paint here so that it shows up a little bit more, which is gives you, when you put it in your sketch, you can start it out by just using more paint up here towards the front. So let's come right up in here. I want to leave a little bit, so I don't want to do exactly halfway, a little low of halfway. Let's come right here, and let's just put a sloping triangle this way. So it's going to make a path going back, these hills and stuff. It's going to make a pathway going back into the back. We might take that tree just a little higher up here, rounder right up and through there like that, I think. But I do like that big lower branch on that other tree that comes out this way. Big Scotch pine. I like that. Okay, so now we have that. Let's go in and decide on our sky. A lot of times if I'm going to use a lot of violets and everything, I'll use the phthalo and then add some of the violet to it and lighten it up. I'm going to keep the sky here today just a little bit more of a neutral blue, and I think I'll go grab my 1-inch here, and I'm going to grab extender here, and we'll take some blue, and so a neutral one. So the phthalo blue leans blue-green, so we're going to add some of the quinacridone violet. The red violet's more powerful, so the quinacridone is a nice violet to start out with. We're going to make our sky. See, that makes a nice neutral blue. Those of you that have, like sapphire blue in the Heritage line, that's a beautiful color to start out with. Now, with our blues that we make here, we want to keep them, we want to do kind of a value scale here with them, which is one of the things I like to do. So this is up. This is really right up at about a 7. It'll dry down to about a 7 or so. It's a little darker than the 8, so it's right about a 7 or so. And that's a good blue. We'll start up at the very top up here with that. I'm going to thin this out with some extender. And let's just start a bit of this blue right across the whole front, right down into the idea of my mountains there. And I have that taped today. Normally you see me use these boards, and I put them up onto my big painting board here, surrounded by gray, so it gives me a good visual look at my colors and my tones. Those of you that follow me along know that I'm a tonal painter. I like to do that. And usually I use the carpet tape back there, but I'm out. So I had to use white duct tape on it today to push that on, so hopefully this will stay up there. But it means I have to peel it off and cover it up. That's not a big deal. We can do that. But okay, so I keep this in here, and a little bit of my gray going through some of the motion, movement of the sky. That's okay. Here, we might want to take some, and you can see the real difference if we look up there to those photos. You can see the real difference between the light sky here and the deep sky that's up there. We could take a little more phthalo, just slightly darker, a little bit brighter, different kind of color, and push a little bit of that back through the sky just to create some nice movement back through there. I love movement in the sky. And, you see me do this all the time with different kinds of brushes and tones, and violets and light, as we come down towards the skyline. Okay, so basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to set up my skyline. This is the skyline that goes through the mountains. This right here is your horizon line. Basically, I like to set it out to horizon line. And right about there, right about in this area here, is what we call the eye line. So there's 3 lines in a landscape. Most of the time people just paint the horizon line. When you're dealing with mountains and stuff, you got to paint that skyline. But then there's a very important line, especially for perspective, that's called the eye line. And that's if the viewer's looking at it right straight out through the landscape. what they're going to see, straight out, and that's what you're going to bring your perspective lines in, is along that eye line. So let's come in here first. Let's even take a little bit more of that phthalo. Let's lighten this up almost to a 9, real light here, and right up in through here. And we'll come right up along the edge of our mountains, down into the mountains there a bit. The skies, we know this from good optics, that the sky gets lighter as it gets down towards that horizon line and down into the sky, and along the skyline for sure, because that is, you're looking through more of the atmosphere, more of the water vapor in the atmosphere, and that's what gives you the lighter skies. So, and why, if you went outside and looked outside, the sky would be darker looking up than it would be along the horizon line. And that's because your atmosphere is usually, no more than 5 miles high, but usually the curvature of the earth, you get out there close to 20 miles, you're looking at close to 20 miles, and so you're looking through more atmosphere horizontally than you are vertically, so you keep that in mind as you're building this. Now, all right, let's go in here and let's start. I'm just going to what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take a little bit of this blue, just for atmospherics, what we call good atmospheric perspectives, thin it out, and I'm going to wash it back down over where I'm going to have some of my mountains and stuff here, so I can start some of the atmosphere here for these mountains. And I'm going to paint these mountains. I'm going to start them out kind of a violet, a dirty violet, which I like in my medium beige and some violet color here. Let's get some purpley color here in medium beige. I paint the mountain. See, that's just a beautiful, deep, kind of a dirty mountain color here. And this is going to look kind of dark for a second, okay? And so I'm just going to basically use different corners of my brush here and push along and pull along like this. And you can see I can create some movement and some interest back there to those mountains, just like this. Use as large a brush as you possibly can here, because that forces you to turn it and twist it, and you'll get some of these different angles and edges and stuff like that is going to give you this interest. We'll change the color maybe just a bit, a little bit more sky. We'll let these mountains, so we'll put these mountains in kind of distance here, so that we don't have a straight line all the way across here the painting. See a little bit of that beige, and let's pull a little bit of that beige down, right down there like that, see? And with a little bit of that sky color in here, let's get some of that, a little bit of the violet. Just model this all together. This is modeling. See, you see it here. Got a little bit of a glare there. Sorry about that. But you see that all modeled. That's not mixed to one color. It's what I call modeled. So you can see the different values and stuff like that into it. So let's start letting this fade back down so that tree comes up against the sky, and we'll put just a little bits of it back up over there. So what we'll do is we'll create and this is all coming from my imagination here and some ideas. I like up in the photo there, I like how you get that real distance area to that real dark that's right up there, and I like that within a painting because it creates the movement that causes the viewer's eye to travel through distance. And so we'll put some of that right up there like that and start some of that. Now I'm going to pull some of this color down here, and maybe a bit more of it, a bit of violet. Let's just pull some of this down a little darker. This is we'll vary this a bit, but let's a little more extender in it. Nice thin extender. We'll pull this down a bit. This will give us some working area here, but I want to see, I'm using some different calligraphy here, brush calligraphy movement, setting up some movement of those colors and tones there, like that. Okay, so we get a little bit of movement going on in there. Now, that's my big 1-inch brush, and I'm going to go down now to a smaller brush, maybe around an 8 or so here. Put a little extender into it, and let's start a bit of detail into the mountains here. So let's go first with some snow. I have to decide, you know, I like on my photos up here, my trees and stuff that I have here, lights coming from the left on both of them. So lights on the left, shadow on the right, which means as I paint this snow, it's going to be light on the left, more shadow snow on the right. So I'm going to use some warmer snow, some white. We'll just put a little bit of this gray and some white and a little bit of warm yellow, the yellow oxide, nice and warm. That'll be a nice snow color for the left side of the mountains, or any place that here that I want to create the feeling of snow onto them. So I'm going to come in here and basically drag it, you know, almost everywhere here, because we'll do that, but a little heavier, a little bit more of a push here on the left side, which will be the sunny side, the warm side of those mountains and hills back there. Okay, and sometimes I'll dirty this down and just kind of add a little bit more movement through here. I want small little touches of movement, but the tones are pretty close together so that I'm not going to get a tremendous amount of detailing in there. So that's my warm, and then I can come over here and lighten it just a bit and work this again a little bit smaller, just kind of drag this in a bit here and put in some more light up here like this. Pull that down. We want some areas of those hills and stuff to kind of blur off. You know, those mountains, those back mountains. Now that's a little bit too much of a blue spot there, so I'll pick up a little bit of beige. Take some of that blue out of there, just like that, and leave some of that interest. So let's get back to our warmer snow here. A little yellow, a little bit of our gray here. Nice warmer kind of a idea of a snow, and we'll pull like down the mountain here to create that feeling of the mountain, not always at a severe angle. You can pull down as well to create some differences here like that. A little bit nice warm snow, basically from the left side. Envision the left side of the mountain back there like that. Okay, and I'm going to want the viewer to come in this way, which means I'm going to give some more contrast all up through this area here and let the sides go off in softness. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking, I'm envisioning here. Let's pull a little bit more mountain interest here, a little bit of snow here. And see, I just moved that brush. I love painting with the fusions like that because they start to set up and give you the feels of these mountains and stuff here. You know, you can create like little light valleys of snow. Like there's a little valley of it right there. That's pretty good. And you can go back blue and some violet and medium beige, even a touch of your burnt sienna in here. This creates the darker colors here of the mountain here, so that you want to come in and create a little more, you know, canyons and crevices and stuff like that through here. You get some of that darker color through there, and see, it's just adding a bit more interest into the mountain. And I don't want to do too much of this back as I go back over to the left side, because we're going more atmospheric. But so I'll just add a little more white and a little bit of the sky color here as I go this way, and let those atmospherics kind of soften out. And then let's take some of our warm and just break the edges a bit here and there. We'll leave some of those touches of darks, but we'll break some of these edges. And edges, contrast, brush movement, calligraphy. Step back and look at it. You know, that all adds interest here. And I'm not completely sure because it's coming from here, but I'm not completely sure yet exactly how much I'm going to bring that mountain forward. So I'm going to have a bit of fun with it, and then I can either soften it out or bring it back, a little bit later. The thing here is to get some of the colors onto it, create a bit of interest. And I'm going to go to a smaller brush here in just a minute as well. This is just going to set up some of my larger areas here. But turn your brush. Use your brush at different angles and stuff, and create, think about the snow and how it hits different areas and then falls down into, little valleys and stuff like that, and just kind of have some fun with that movement there, like that. And, the big thing is try not to do anything too perfect. You don't do anything. I'm going to rinse that out of this brush for a little bit, because I'm going to set it back. Whenever you're painting alla prima and want to keep it wet, if you rinse your brush, touch it into a little extender, and just push that into your brush here, then you can set that down. It'll keep it nice. Okay, but I'm going to go to a smaller brush here, and I'm going to go a little darker, just a bit darker, maybe a bit of burnt sienna and the blue right up in through here, and create just some movement here with my small brush. Because movement, see, that just creates more interest, and especially up into this area of the painting here, where I told you I want to create that little basically a focal area right in here that drives the viewer into that little valley right in there. So I want to put some additional contrast right there and soften out of that area, work these colors a bit, get some browns in there. So I love those browns. Get some of these little movements back here. There we go. Got that nice horizontal line showing up right there. So we'll just push right through. See, if you just create some of that movement, it'll look like little hills and little mountains back there. So we start out big brush, and then we can come in and work a little bit smaller, a little bit less here. But we don't want to spend a tremendous amount of time on this as well. We want to keep moving. But I do want to lighten up probably just a bit of my snow there. So I'm going to go a bit lighter, a bit warmer here. And sometimes when it's really wet with the acrylics, it's hard to really get the color to lay off. I hold the brush very flat and just kind of drag it a bit so I get some of that color to lay off here. And just like that. That's pretty good. And see, I got a nice little angle there, so I'm just going to go in and just tap a little dark right there to kind of give it to look like it's an extra little crevice area there in the mountain, and that looks pretty good. And so I'm going to hit a couple of light areas, a little bit lighter here, just like that. Pull down just a bit. Here, just a bit lighter. Here, just move that around, and see, that'll really pop those back hills there, just like that. And we'll pull down, snow down into valleys and stuff. So if I create this valley right down here, this would be a good area to leave some of this snow down in here, like that. And of course, lighter to one side here. Don't want to pull too long. Want to keep this not super choppy, but a little bit. Then you can soften some of that movement with your finger there, and that works. And if I feel like I get too much contrast in an area, then I'll go back to my lights, to my browns, to my lights here. Just take some of that down, take it a little bit off here, like that, and just reduce the contrast by bringing the tones a little closer together, reduce the contrast here. Here we go, just like that. So that little mountain pulls you up pretty good up there. Now, I'm going to go back. Maybe my 3/4 inch brush is one of my favorite sky painting brushes. And I'm going to add a touch of the open medium here, because I'm going to go a little thicker. I'm going to take some of these colors, which are right into the clouds here, and I'm going to make a nice soft lighter gray here that I'll push basically over to the side. So you'll see it's just a touch. It's the beautiful colors of the gray from the mountains here. I'm going to push it into the sky, so I'm going to create a bit of the clouds right up through here. See, and I'll do it first with that gray from the mountains so that they start out real soft, and maybe nothing too much right over there. Maybe a bit of it, or that tree will play up against that. So that's a bit of the gray. Now it's nice and wet because I got that open medium in there. Then I'll go pick up some more light, okay? And let's just push some of this around here, just to the top side of that line there. And we'll let some of that soften out. Sometimes I'll take my hand with that and push and streak out a bit. Sometimes I'll push up to create transparent little edges of the clouds like that. Okay. Sometimes I pull more just horizontal lines like that, push in a little color. But you can see it just kind of smears. Now you don't want to do it too much because you'll blend it. Okay. You just want to kind of smear them around to get some of that incorporation there like that. That's what I call incorporate the colors. The whites moving, these other grays moving into some of this stuff. Just push it around a little bit. But don't do it too much because it will blend. So you can kind of feel it and watch it happening there and see some of those clouds kind of come in. Now, what's like that I see so many of the clouds up here in Nebraska and stuff, I'm going to build a little bit bigger one right off the edge, right in here, and right up back behind this one here. Right back behind that mountain. Maybe take my paper towel and soften up, blur off that edge just a bit there, like that. And I'll take some more white right up here and right by that mountain. This is one of the things that those of you that watch the video on there, the painting of the hawk, the Fergus hawk, Fergus hawk, excuse me. I like to push some clouds right back up behind the mountain and stuff there. There's our afternoon train there. Here we go. Just push some of the clouds right back up to there, especially in this little area that this journey is going to go through here. We'll just let some of these small ones go through here. Here we go. So to get the softness to the cloud, I use my hand there, and some of that open medium keeps it nice and wet, and you'll see some of that let's go through. So, you know, you got a lot of different ways in which that you can certainly make clouds and stuff, and sometimes I use a bristle, sometimes I use my paper towel. I'm going to use here, and there's a lot of different ways you can do those, but they're just a lot of fun to try different ways, and I use different ways in different paintings. Now I'm going to come back and push this mountain right up in front of that edge of the cloud there, so that we get a good depth, a nice depth. Let's put a bit of our white snow right up front there as well. Boom, like that. Maybe just a touch more white. And it's really, really wet, so I'm going to have to lighten my pressure, set my brush down here, and just drag it a bit so that white lays off. Because when the acrylics are really wet, it's hard to get them to lay off sometimes here. So you have to do it with touch here. Let's just grab some of that. That's good. Here. And little touches. Don't forget you can come back the other way sometimes to create those other little breaks into the mountains some of the other ways. Here. create some nice little sets. So that set those mountains back there. Now let's move forward, okay? So I'm going to rinse that brush, that small one. Won't use it for a minute. We'll set that aside. Let's move ourselves forward here. I'm going to go back to my 3/4 inch brush here, and we'll start some of our browns and blues. We want to keep a bit of the atmosphere color going into some of this. Let's add some extender here so it stays wet. Let's get some of that atmosphere. Went just a bit too much there. So a bit of the blues and the burnt, that medium beige here. Pull that through there like that. Yeah, that's gonna, see, so I got a nice, when you look at this, this is just fading away over there. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna take a little soft light and just push that on that back up over there. A little distance, that pushing away here. And that'll work. Let's put just a touch of that snow right out there like that. See, just a little mark of it. That's all it needs. Let's get a bit brighter mark right here. So I'll probably look at that a couple times. And don't do too much. That's the thing is, you know, and you know, little goes a long way when you're painting impressionism like this. And that's all we're doing is painting this impressionism. You know, I may want to restate this light snow back in here again. Just boom, boom, boom. Let's get that back up here for that little hill, that little valley right there. That's pretty neat. That pulls the viewer's eye right there to that area here. And that's what I want to do. Here. Right in there. Just use the corner of your brush, dance it around a bit so you create some of that interest there. Okay? Now, let's go forward just a bit and we'll start to look for some of our other colors. I want to go into the yellows and stuff as I come here to the front. So I'm going to take a bit of my extender and some of my yellows. I want to get into my yellows and my browns up into here. That'll get the nice cool depth of the mountain and then warmer colors as we come forward right up through here. So that's the area I want, that's the colors I want to go to. So I'm going to take some light, some yellow, and some burnt sienna and some of these browns, some medium beige. Don't mix it up too well. We'll take some extender. And let's just come, I want to create this little valley through here. And then I want to move these colors and through. So real softly, just light pressure on your brush. Start to move these through, right through here. And what that does is it doesn't impart very much color, but it'll carry that tone, a real quick way of carrying that tone back through here so we can start creating some atmospheric depth to our painting. So light pressure and model it around, touch it around like this so you can create some little bits. And too bad, that's really pretty right there. It's going to get covered up by the tree. You know, don't you just hate that sometimes? You get something that looks, wow, that's really great, and then you're going to have to cover it up. I do that all the time and stuff. So anyway, we'll create some smaller little touches and movements here, like little valleys, little areas, little breaks in between the trees and stuff like that. That creates nice movement to your colors, see? And step back, and you know, the other thing. So I haven't told you yet, that camera that you're looking at right there that I'm talking to you on, that one is set at 8 feet. So that's what it's going to look like hanging in our gallery here at 8 feet. Then we have the close-up camera and stuff. So you can see, I like to, if I'm painting at an easel, and since I'm sitting down here today for you working on this, but when I paint at an easel, I get up and I step back about 8 feet or so, 6, 8 feet, sometimes 3 feet. You know, each one of my paintings is a little different, but somewhere right around in there. A little more yellow, a little more light. Let's create a plane of maybe some of that coming forward here. We'll drop some of that forward here like that. So we'll get some of that nice distance, and then that comes forward. Using the extender so my colors stay just a bit thin here. Okay. we'll come forward here a bit more. Now we're going to put in a couple other triangles here, but I'm just moving some of the colors forward. Now, the other thing to remember about when you're painting here, sometimes it's easy to forget, is I'm going to take some of these nice sky colors and add them forward here, some of those tones. That carries the sky tone through your painting, and you need to remember to do that. That gives you a better harmony to your painting, carrying that through when you do that. Okay, let's get our browns, our medium beige. You can see that medium beige is such a pretty color to paint with. And we can push it over. Of course, you know, one of the colors that I didn't put out here today, that I forgot to put out, and we'll just go put it out right now, and is the pine green. We're gonna need that for the tree and everything. How did I forget that? So we'll take maybe a touch of that pine green and the yellow, and I love pine green burnt sienna. You know that in the flowers and everything. I love those colors. But see, I'll just model this through in here a bit. Create some, my brush calligraphy here moves into the shape that, you know, I had that idea of this hill right here. I have this idea of this hill there. So my brush calligraphy will move into those shapes so that you'll catch a little bit of it here, and you know, in those shapes, and that'll help the slopes and the interest in our little tracking of our you know, visual journey that we want to create back through there. Okay, so I like that. Now I'm going to take a bit of burnt sienna here. Let's go back up towards our sky. A little blue and burnt sienna. A little bit darker, a little bit more blue. Here, almost like a gray here. Not too much darker. Value-wise, I'm going to be sitting here at about a 5, almost a 4. So let's try that here. And I'm going to create another little foothill right here. A little break of that. Don't want to get too much into that tree, so we'll soften it out here. But we'll create and the little foothills that you do here can really help the depth as well. So I'll push that around here a bit. Let that little foothill, and see, this, we're going to be creating some trees and stuff like that. So I want to push my brush like this, so you get in the distance, when you see in the distance of something, you know, you see breaks of land and dark, and the viewer starts to see those as like areas of trees and so on and so forth. And so we want to leave some of those little breaks there. And I kind of like that. There, I want to put let's go a little bit more burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow into this, and push this other hill right down here that is maybe a bit different here. Maybe pull down our calligraphy so we get that nice hill shape there, see? And let's push through some of that light. Push-pull. Remember I showed you that push-pull in the mountains and the pears and stuff in some of the different alla prima lessons. You push-pull this fusion and you get some great movement. That's what I like to do. Let's put a bit of the open medium, which will keep the paint thicker so it has some power here as I paint up against some of this dark there. Now, I do kind of want to keep a bit of a journey right there, so I'm going to go back to light and just take just a touch of that back out. Maybe open up the little valley right in there, right like that, so they can, you know, they know where to go, right up through that valley. I like to create, that's one of the things, you know, those who have watched some of the rivers and everything that I paint, I like visual journeys. I read that so many years ago, 30 years ago, and with a master, and I was studying, and he said, you know, there's a couple of things that a painting needs, but one of them is always a journey, where you're going to go into the painting, and you create a journey, a story with how you move your brush calligraphy and your tones there. And so that's what I want to do, is create that story. Let's take just a bit of that dark right there, at a bit of that angle. there, that light angle there, and create that a little bit of the story there. So light is to the left, so these will be light side here. If I leave this as a little hill right there, there would be light to the left. Just boom, let's put a little hill, a little tapping right there, right like that. And this little dark, if we touch just maybe a touch of that green into some of this burnt sienna here, maybe a touch of that blue, nice little dark. That's got a little bit, just right with the corner of my brush here. And we just leave that right like that. We can give the impression of some of the trees we'll do later here. Just ideas of some of those. Maybe those are more Scotch pines back there, like that. Of course, that's not going to show up, but it looks fabulous, right? It's not going to show up. I just did that. That was practice. I just did it for practice there. But just little corners of your brush, push that around here. And so you can kind of see, okay, now you're getting some, some nice ideas, impressionistic ideas. I like this little clump of trees and this one here. I'm going to grab some more green, some more burnt sienna, maybe a bit of my medium beige here. Sometimes I'll touch a bit of red, which kills the green real quick here. So, and maybe a touch of blue. Just kind of model these all together here, like this. And we'll create. We're going to do, I don't want to work too long with one color here, so I'm going to push some around here like this. And then let's change color. Let's put some yellow into that. Change that up here. Don't fill it all up and in, but we'll give, like, these are medium-sized trees back here that will give reason for these guys here, like that. See, some medium-sized trees. When you come with a little bit darker, a little bit of blue, a little bit of violet and green here, a little bit darker. You imagine, you think left side, shadow, left side here. So think a clump of trees shadowing on the left side, or excuse me, the right side. Here I am touching right. How many of you were saying, that's the right side, Dave? Sorry about that. It's the right side. Light from the left, light and shadow to the right. Yes, and we'll push that in. There we go, and leave a bit of that. That's just the impression of it, see? And for good, if you're talking about good linear perspective, if the tree's this high and then it's that high and then it's just a little dinky back there, you're going to get some nice perspective-wise. Now, let's take some of this. We'll just lighten this all up. Let's even grab a bit of our yellow and a bit of our Hansa yellow this time, and a bit of white. Let's come right back down here, pull our angle in, and you don't want to make a straight line right here with your trees. You want to kind of just pull in and out there like that, so that we'll get some nice slopes. Let's get a little more light, a little more yellow. Let's bring just a bit of a highlight here, right up on that side of that hill, right up there, right up by the trees. Then quickly push them down. Here, let what comes off your brush, just don't work it too much. It'll all become one tone. And you want to leave those tones, right? We want to leave those tones going, what's going on there with all those tones. Don't overpaint it too much. Okay? All right, let's, I'm going to thin this out just a bit, this shadow. Touch some of that through here. Break that line. We'll go with a smaller brush here, and that'll help us as well. And we'll thin out here some of this light. Let's go even more yellows and light. Let's drop in this front light yellow here. That's going to be the front of this. We're also going to go, this will be the lightest and darkest areas of our painting. Will be up into this area here of this part of the hill. Here, right up through like that. I want to take some burnt siennas, greens, some beige here, and we'll push some of that. And it can go a bit darker as well. Now, you want to just push this in. This is a great place that you always see me use my, many times you see me use my scraper. That I'll take some of this and kind of mix this all together. And I'll scrape across this to set the movement. Sometimes I will pull up and down and set some different movements and stuff here. And it creates a lot of interest there. You know, the brush sometimes is a little smooth, and especially as I come front here, up forward, I want this to really stay modeled. So a little bit here, light to that side there. That's kind of nice. A bit of light to this side here. Right up here, just a bit of that, some of that coming down there. I think I'm going to lighten this little line on it, so this would be like an extra little valley kind of hill here. Let that go back through there. Just some nice movement through there. That's pretty good. And you want these stops and starts here like this, that some of that gives that detail, extra little light detail back here. So in other words, just push it in there. Don't make big sweeping strokes. Push it in so you get these lights and dark movements here like this. And that's what gives it the impressionism of the hills and stuff there. So step back and look at it, and that's pretty good. It gives you the impressionism of those hills and stuff. So that's what we want. Let's get up and get some darks here first. Some burnt siennas and greens. Let's get some of that nice dark. Now see how this dark advances. We're going to leave this as a nice shadow here. I want to advance this first area in here too. So in other words, this is the lightest and darkest. And by getting all this dark up here, and get some of the sienna in there, by getting all that up in here, this advances this way in front of that mountain back there. And that's why I said you can go back and adjust a little bit as you might need. We can adjust all that. We're artists. Let's put a bit of yellow, streak that through, push up and down just a bit. This will start to look like bushes and stuff, the different grasses and stuff that you have there. Just kind of move that through here. We'll do this a lot here in just a minute. We're just moving. I'm actually just really applying nice thick paint into here. And because paint is important, visually, paint is something that also comes forward. So we get more paint, more stuff, more things going on. That's what you want. Let's get a little bit lighter, a little more yellow. Right back up through here. Some of that moving right back through here. That mid-ground light, but see that yellow streaked out of my brush a little different there, see? I like that. Some of that right back through there. And this sometimes, you have your scraper. Those are all just really great areas there. You can just pull. This one's better because I was using it. And you just pull and scrape and get some of that extra light, dark, and movement right in there like that, see? Then you can go in and soften it and tap it around and create some different looks to it. There. So the scraper just works great. Let's just, pull and scrape just a bit of that here. Pull and scrape. See, it's a different type of movement there. And you get all of that highs and lows of all those different colors. And that's what looks really, really great. Let's go a little lighter. Right up here, break that color between the hill I'm just going to put on right now. And some of this here, grasses. See, they're little grasses. Let's just create a bit more of that grasses right in there. Here we go. And we can, you can do even finer little breaks of color, like right up there, and that's where your knife is really great. Get in there with your knife and push and get some of these little breaks of color and just leave those little bits like that, those little breaks, and see the almost like detail that it gives it there. It's very broken. It's very it's not done with the brush. See, you can use the point. This is a little Liquitex number 5 knife, and everything that I use, if you go over to the JansenArtStudio.com and you click free videos, and then another menu opens up, and then you click supplies right there, you can see everything that I use is all there. And there's links to it over on Amazon and stuff, so you can see everything that I use. And this is the little Liquitex 5 knife that's featured over there, so you can see, yeah, you get a little bit more. Now I can define that even more up into a little hill, especially if I go with the small brush here. A bit more of my yellow here, but work some of those lights right up shape-wise here and create the look of that little hill. Let's make a slope slightly darker, slightly greener, or more shadow coming back down that way. Right there like that, see? Push that, give a bit of that nice direction there. Maybe that deeper shadow right here pulls down a bit more. Push this a bit more. Could be trees, could be anything. Everyone will see it a little different, see? But it's just the impression of it. That's what I love. It's the impressionism of it. That could be trees right back there, see? Another little set of trees right back there. That looks pretty good. Let's take some of this light right up here, like a little hill, right up against that. And, if I decide after I paint the main Scotch pine here that this is a bit too much right in here, I can soften it easy. I can soften that really easy. But that looks pretty good. Maybe a bit of extender here. We'll push some shadow in. Right there like that. Push a little shadow. Light and shadow. There. There we go. A little light and shadow. A few little hills there. Some trees. That's all good. And let's go soft for right now. So we'll take all of this together here. And we'll just move some of this back here, because this is where that tree is all going to go, right up here. So we'll just do some of the movement there. And just give some nice soft color. And we'll keep this pretty soft back here. Maybe a bit of the dark happening over here every once in a while, but not too much, because we want to... we've got to paint the tree and make it come up in front of that. So we want to keep everything over there kind of underpainted a little bit. Just some tonal movement through there. I like that, but I do like that tone, that light tone coming through there a bit more. Like that. Going through there, creating that little journey, that little visual journey there, like that. Let's put a bit more on that light right up there, just soft. So I use the extender there, and you can see it just creates this beautiful soft movement there. Okay, all right, I'm going to go back to my number 8 here, and we'll start the tree. I'm going to paint it with open medium, burnt sienna and green here, maybe a little bit of our beige here. Light's coming from the left, shadow to the right, so I want to come right up through here. And matter of fact, that's going to be, let's go more of a, we'll do this the other way. We'll go more of a medium color, then we'll add the darks. So we'll look more for, we'll go more to a medium to the dark to the lighter colors here. So we'll go more of a medium tone here. That'll allow us to make some mistakes because they'll fill in just a bit. So, because we can fill in even more. Let's get this. I want to leave some rough edges. So I'm using just the corner of my 8 here, pushing, and I want to leave some sky holes here, you know, to airy up this tree so I get a nice edge of it there. More of the medium color here, a little bit of that yellow in there. Okay. Push some of that, you know, more of the medium, but leave these sky holes. That's going to be so important here for our tree. We'll push a little heavier down here, maybe get that larger bit of this tree, part of the tree, that branch right there. That'll be good. Let's get that nice open medium in there. We'll thin it out just a bit over here, so not as much. Here, I'm just kind of looking at that one there and that one and kind of painting one in between the two here. So a little thinner right there, that'll work here. Now, so that just sets up some of the airiness of the nice medium color. We'll go dark now, and we'll do some darker touches here, right in there like that. And we want to go fairly dark, and I want to model the green and the burnt sienna together here. Don't mix them up too well, just model them together so that you get different colors here. Use the corner, use the chisel here, push it sometimes, tap it, so you get some of these different colors coming off here. Think about a little bit of the shadow here as you're off here on this side. So we'll go heavier over here onto this side and the bottom, right side and the bottom of these other areas here. Right side and the bottom. Here. A little right side and the bottom of that little group there. Right side, the bottom. Here. There we go. As that goes down now. I could probably fill that up a bit more, but I think that that's good for right now. Now, so I got the medium tone in, and that I'm going to go with some. Now, I like the burnt sienna and kind of yellowish. That tan will probably not show up as much. So this other one has a lot of burnt sienna, maybe a touch of blue here at first into that. Not super dark, but let's go in and start some ideas of our tree trunks. Just the chisel. Sometimes, if I want a lot of interest, I'll lay the chisel down and I'll draw down this way. And I don't want to make it perfectly straight, but I'll draw down and drop that tree in right there like that. And then come back and take it off and move the color around a bit there. Okay. Give some of that nice movement here. Down, I could have a little bit more of that green going and stuff going lower here. There we go. And let some of that burnt sienna. Boy, some of that burnt sienna just looks like a nice dark there with it as well. And if I get too much paint, I'll just use my paper towel like that and pinch it up. Now I have a smaller little chisel here that I can do smaller little things here. Smaller little, branches and stuff like that. Here. Pull some of those through. Here's you build that tree. Let's burnt sienna pine green, touch of blue. This is going to be a shadow now. Touch of blue in it, nice deeper shadow. We'll go in and shadow a little darker edge of this tree, and I want to be very broken, very much alla prima here. Very, very broken with it. Maybe even a little touch of violet. That makes it super dark. See that real dark color here. And we'll look for some of our dark tones here. I blur off the edges just a bit because that makes a pretty tree here. We paint that. And now sometimes you can use your knife. There's, if you want to, it all depends on how much detail you want. But sometimes I will take my knife with a little bit and then run the edge of my knife, and you can see, you can create little branches and stuff like that way. So I'm not going to get that much detailed into this one, but you could use your knife, you could use your little liner brush. That's up to you. I'm going to keep this very much impressionistic, not too much details to that. Blur off those edges a bit there. See, that all stays real wet, so we can work those edges a bit if we wanted to. There. And a few extra, like little branches and stuff that broken off, or I just like to blur that just a bit through there. I like that. Now, let's go with our light medium beige, some yellows here. And let's just hold this brush kind of flat and pull some of the light down there. I could go a little smaller brush here so that that stays a bit smaller as a highlight here. Let's grab some more yellows. And because I do like to lay the brush flat when I do this. And I want some textures. Yeah, that's a nice little brush. So this little number 4 is a good size. Just tap across a bit. Tap in some of that nice little detail there. Give some lights up here. And if you touch too much, you can always take some of your darks and stuff and take them out, blur them out. You can also paint back in with some of your sky and stuff as well. If you lose some sky holes and stuff like that, so you can do that. But I'm going to paint this very much impressionistic here. Just the impressionism of it, which is my favorite way. I used to be into a lot of realism, like some of you have seen, but I'm into them very much. Blurry edges and different things going on, and I just eliminated that highlight by not paying too much attention. So we'll just go back and add that again. But I want to add some touches here of other tones through there like that. See, and it creates good bark. So you like pull down and then just push in a bit. So that gives me a nice strong horizontal. I really need to have a bit of highlight right up here to pull that top part of that pine up there. And let's get some burnt sienna darks. Push into the edges of that just a bit. There. That looks pretty good. Now, my tree for the overall painting there is okay. It's probably a little thin. It's not too much of a diet here, so we might want to widen it out. I'm going to push some light color here, right there. Let's push a bit of blue and burnt sienna. A little different dark here, right up there. There, like that. That's pretty good. And so I'm going to come in. Let's grab some of our yellows, just a touch of the green here. Maybe some of our beige in here too. model that in. Let's see what this looks like. Here, think top and left. Here, top and left. So if I'm going to go for some differences here, I could probably go a little bit lighter right out there. So I might do two highlights here. This one right here. And then we'll add a bit of white and some more yellow. Here. There we go. And let's cross over the bark, the trunk here a bit. That pushes the trunk into the tree. Don't avoid painting the trunk. Go right over it. There. Let's go a little heavier right up here. There we go. Nice little canopy of light. Few little touches of that light over here. Here we go. I like the sky holes in it and stuff. Bit more light, bit more yellow. Nice little highlight here. We'll just touch a few areas there. Some artists just do the downstroke, which is nice. You know, I do all kinds of touches, but the downstroke does just give that nice vertical to it. In other words, you just pull down, just toom, 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 and it gives that. It's a nice little stroke to do into the trees, but you want to get as many differences as possible here. Sometimes use your palette knife. You know, you want to get some differences here through there like that, so you get that nice light through it. And if you wanted to open it up, like that one up there is more open, then I'll go back here towards some of my grounding colors and just paint through and open the tree up a bit with some of my landscape here. So it has a bit more blue into it, and brown, and the beige and the white here. Maybe a touch of that burnt sienna here. Paint back down through there. Open some of that up, and then we'll put some of the light in there. Most of it that causes it to open up, though, is the calligraphy that you use. So if I use this kind of sloping of the hill calligraphy here, that'll open up that sky, that edge there. See, it starts to open it up. I can be a little more yellow and a little lighter here to match some of that other tone right there. And see, you can take out some of the branches if you got a little heavy or something like that. You can take some of that out and open up that tree. The same thing you can do over on the other side over here with the sky. I'm actually going to add just a bit more over here. Just a bit of that in there. And this kind of stops a little quick. I'm going to thin it out. So whenever I want to lose the detail, I use the extender. And I want to lose the detail out over here. Thin this out here. Like that. And lose that detail. Let's get a bit darker. Green, blue, violet, burnt sienna. Here, more burnt sienna. Just a bit here. Sometimes if I don't do, I kind of scrub it like this on the shadow side where I don't want to hold a tremendous amount of detail like that. And that's good. So then I could touch just a bit of the light here and there, just to a few areas there. So you don't have it light, dark, just a few Less over on this side though. Less. So that worked pretty well. Pretty well. Now let's go back up, add a bit more right up into the front. So what we have here now, what I have here now is I can go back after I put some of that in and look at a few other areas, of the painting and see, do I need to do anything? Like, maybe I want to come right up here with a bit of that white from that cloud and lighten up that bit right in there. So the tree, so this whole area here, so that cloud, I like to do this a lot in landscapes. You see me do this in other things. I like to push a bit of that mountain with the cloud right back there by it. It just gives such good drama here. Let's add just a bit of that, maybe even a bit of this lighter green, yellow-green, right into this snow. Pull just a bit of that. This is my boom, a few little spots. This is my area of interest here. There, like that. That's part of my visual journey going up through that part of the painting there. A little extender, keep it kind of soft, a little thin, a little lighter here. Tap that up and through. And so you see I'm coming back, adjusting my values, adjusting the journey just a bit here. The pull the viewer up and through that area here. Before I come with the final up into the front here. That looks pretty good. Maybe a few little touches of that. See, tap your brush in through here so you create little opens of light and dark, and that'll make it look like little areas of trees and other things going on. So a little bit of land, a little bit of tree here going on in there, see? And as it gets close up there, you can just take just a bit of the grayed snow, sky it up a bit. There, like that. So just a bit of that fading away there off onto the mountains. That's pretty good. And so we got a good, let's see, let's do this with a 3/4 inch. We've got a good shadow up front here starting. Green, burnt sienna. You will have a nice deep shadow. Get some of these burnt siennas in here. We'll just push a bit of this into this hill here. Right there. The hill will continue on, but we're going to want to do some light here as well. But in and around this tree, I want some of this nice deep shadow and light. The tree itself, we can even take a bit of the blue. Nice big cool shadow here. Casting shadow here, which would be that tree, from that tree there, which helps it come forward here. And we'll blow right through my yellow oxide. So I'll put out a little more yellow oxide here. Let's grab that yellow oxide, some of this dirty color, some burnt sienna, some open medium in here. So this stays wet now for a little bit as I just want to streak on some color here, see? Model this up. Just get some of this color, lights and darks here. Let's get some of that color in there. Get some good yellow. Get some good strong yellow here as well. Make some greens, some pretty colors, some different stuff going on there, like that. Okay, and let's get some more beige, nice medium beige, some of these colors, softer beiges here. Push that in here. There we go. Maybe a bit of the light or light dark grasses and stuff here. We'll push that in. We'll create some more light and dark grasses, let me say that. Push some more yellows. Push the color around. Don't mix them up too much so it becomes one color. Push the colors around so that you can get some nice interest there. That's important. And let's get out a little more white here as well. Here. Yeah. Some of you probably thought, oh, he has a lot of color out there. Oh, you blow through it when you're doing the kind of these texturing and stuff of this type of bit into a landscape here. So I'm going to break this up. And this is where, you can kind of, do as much detailing and as much time as you want in this type of area here now. It's kind of up to you. But I'm going to create some lights and darks, come up right by the edge of that tree trunk there. Break that off. Push some of the shadow back up in there. Like that. And maybe a bit of that shadow bring back. See, I put that light over, so if I push real hard, I can bring back some colors just softly, see? And by taking the paint off, which is a technique I like. And you see me do that on roses and stuff all the way, a lot of times. And I learned that off roses by watching master landscape painters over the years. And they'll put on and take off a lot. That's what gives them so much interest and stuff. So the putting on and the taking off here. Let's push on just a touch more of a shadow right in there. That just because that's going to give me more contrast than what that mountain has there. So a nice little bit of that shadow there on that part of the tree. And see, I can control that. If I feel that this is a little heavy over there, I just push in a little bit of that shadow. I like to draw many times with the shadow because I feel the shadow has more shaping. It can do more shaping than what the lights can do because the shadow can take out the light very easy, and so that's what I like to do here. So I'll soften those. You can push and soften some of that back in there. And it's all wet. This is all wet because of the medium and stuff, so it's all wet in there. The big thing is when you're painting these is not to set up a pattern, and it's really hard, especially for me, a left-brain painter. I could set up a pattern pretty easy. But I've noticed over the years a lot of artists will just do the downstroke, and which I find is quite nice as well. They just go doom, 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 doom. And it does set up a bit of a pattern. But that all becomes part of your technique and how you go about painting, the trees and stuff. And in my classes, I try to show many different ways to do trees and then let you decide which way you like here. I like to, even if I do a lot of downstrokes, to just come back and push in some of that and create some of that difference there. That tree there like that works pretty well. Just put in just a bit, and you can slide your brush around like this to create darker planes and push up and down and create bushes and anything that you want to create up here. Just some nice movement. That's usually what I do. Sometimes I take my flat palette knife and model some of this together like this so that it's a little bit different, and just start touching that through. Some verticals, some horizontals. To start breaking up and building the color many times. And what really brings everything forward here is the shadow. But one of the things I want to do here is maybe darken this back just a bit here and bring light, because I want to bring light in onto the left here so it plays up against the tree. So that was part of my original vision here. So I'm going to go back, grab my light, and put the tip of this hill in with the light here. And let's just grab that hill there, like that. Push up and down, pull that a bit, model that around a bit there, and a little more yellow, but carry on to the other side of the tree here, right up like that. Then we'll push that lift that off for that shadow of the tree. Tap that around a bit. So yeah, put some of that light back behind there. And let's just grab some of that. There we go. There we go, just nice. And I'm probably going to leave it, even grab some of the burnt sienna and green and yellow. Just some darker. You can put a down tree, a log, any of that kind of stuff in here that you want. You know, all that's just real good stuff. What I do is build my color back and forth here several times till I start to get enough what I call color modulation, color interest here. And boom. Sometimes I'll put specifically grasses in there. Sometimes I just, let a lot of just smaller stuff. Like I'll start to use my small brush, grab some burnt sienna, some blue here, a little green. I model it up, don't mix it up real well. And just start adding a few little touches of other stuff here. You see, and it plays just the light against the dark, and you pull areas of interest, and so maybe a nice streak of that back up in here for that shadow again. And it's just working it back and forth many times, and that's what gives you the ultimate kind of interest back through here. So I'll even take some of this and maybe come down here and push a little bit to give the idea of little bushes and stuff. Sometimes I'll come back with a little highlight right onto the edges, breaking that up. So I'll come right back by the edge of that and push in a bit of the up and down and angles there and create some ideas of other stuff going on. Just some of that dark carrying right up there. Follow your good calligraphy of your hills and stuff here. But always make sure that this tree is the most. This tree has the greatest. And so you can even come back here with like some nice dark right up against where the tree would be the darkest, right up in right in here, good shadow, and really emphasize some nice darks up close to the tree trunk. That just pushes in ultimate depth to this tree here. Some good, nice shadow tones here, like that, right there. A little bit of the light, but it's the shadows are so important there. And just building that. And I do like good, powerful strokes of burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is a nice warm color, but and it has a tendency to just warm and lighten any of those deep shadows, And so I do like that. Touch that around there. And you get some nice there. So now, when I look at that, I'll thin this time with some extender so I don't have too much power, and maybe just a bit more of that out here. And we'll do just a touch more shaping of these towards the trees without doing too much. You know, just so your eye pulls over, but your eye wants to come in here first. So that's what we want the viewer's eye to do. Come in there first. And so thinner, right side, a little bit more here, maybe a touch right up here. There, onto that one. Now that's just kind of, so I would probably, doesn't look too great right there. We'll take a medium tone here and just maybe add a bit of a slope there to that hill, like that. So it creates like two hills there. That's better. And see, you can just play and shape. You can do a lot of the shaping of your, of your landscape here. There we go. And go back and revisit it here. Set up some of those little hills, little edges. There. And I took out part of my journey, so I get to go put it back in. We do that, right? So I just take off some of that and push it back in there. Make sure I got a nice journey there. Nice calligraphy going through, so your eye just moves through. Matter of fact, we'll start it up here a little better. Let's put a little of the open medium in there so I get a little more interest to the stroke. Right up there like that. There. Yeah, that works. That works pretty well. So give you an idea here. We're trying to get a painting in an hour and a half, and we're just real close to an hour and a half. That's what I want to do. But you could go back, look at it again, add anything in there. If you feel that your mountains, need to have a little bit more of a punch, or if you want to put some more grasses in here, we can definitely come up here with some more grasses and stuff, and start building those up with some nice lights. That's all up to you and how much, you want to do on your painting. Here you could use the edges of your brush and build more grass. I'm not going to push that much in it. I'm going to leave this very much alla prima, but I probably will drag this again, push up and down just a bit to break that real harsh line there, so I get a little more broken, maybe a bit more light and yellow. And let it, and this is what I do. Since you're acrylic here, everything's going to dry down just a bit. And so I put it away because you got a good idea about what it's going to look like, and take a look at there and see if you like it. From that 8 feet, see if that's getting what you want. You could put rocks up here, those I've done with you before. You have your light struck plane, shadow plane, and stuff. And, so you can put those in if you want. That might look kind of nice, a couple of rocks up here. But when you get all done here, it's up to you for how much of the detail, but let it dry. Okay, so you get up here, you think you're getting close, let it dry really well, and then take a look at it again in a few hours after it starts to dry up to see if you want to do anything more. That'll be your real judge, is in a few hours after the acrylic has dried down. Do you need to do anything more here to this painting? And so I always put it away for a few hours, and I'll come back and look at it. And I usually add a little bit more light, or I'll bring up the edge of the mountain or something like that. I might take a little bit of mountain color here, bit of extender. I use the extender into the back there. And, you know, look at edges of the mountains there if I want to bring something back up again here. And that could be a little bit more blue into those back mountains. That's a little bit green. But look at them and see. And, you know, how much details and stuff you want to have to yours. And bring that back up. And it's just a touch too much. So I let it sit. If it's just a touch too much, I let it sit for just a second. Then I just wipe it with a paper towel. And so it just leaves, and I heard one artist say it was perfect. It leaves the memory of the color there. Just a little bit of the memory. And it was a fantastic way to say what really was happening with it. So you can go back there and put some more in and stuff. And I'm going to work on the tree just a touch more, just a little bit more of the highlights right in there, probably. And call it. I like that. I like the journey of it. But I'll be watching right here as if I need to make any more light colors or adjustments as I go back to that atmospheric perspective. Everything becomes more blue. Now, the very last thing with that atmospheric perspective in line, remember we said about moving those blues forward. So let's take some whites, some of our blues, and this is a harmony thing. So we'll take some of the violets and the lights and stuff, and this is what really kind of makes it pretty, I think. And not every artist does this, but I certainly do like doing it. And I'll bring some of these lights, and let's thin this out. That's just a little too much there. But I'll put in some of the touches of the blue, and they'll go everywhere, basically throughout the painting. Little bits of the blue here. Little lights, little darks, little touches of the blues through here. And it carries the sky down into your painting here. And it looks a little harsh right now, but it dries down and kind of disappears just a bit. And that's a real pretty look. I mean, you can also take that blue up into any part of your mountains up here, into the snow and stuff. You know, again, it's a good harmony thing. Pulls the sky down into those mountains, see? Makes them really pretty. The sky is your background, and just like a good, you know, floral painting and stuff, carrying your background through your painting is really important to the harmony here. So taking some of that blue and then just working that through, that's a little too much there. Take a little yellow with that and just kind of take some of that, soften it off, and then leave just the memory of it there. Just a bit of that, with a bit of that memory, and it just adds just a little bit of that color there, and it makes it look like you know what you're doing. Okay, so you can work that fun little landscape here. So it's 13 by 21. You could even do this as a miniature, but I'm probably going to come in and just add a couple more little touches of highlights to that tree trunk of light yellow and white. And I'll do that, and then I'll set it aside and call it until I let it dry for just a bit. See, that just pops up the tree just a touch more here. And we'll let that dry, take a look at it, and see what's going on, okay? So if you like it, make sure you click like, especially those of you that are landscape painters. Boy, click that like and leave a comment there. You want to see more landscapes, because I have a whole bunch of more landscape types of techniques and stuff that we teach. But the Impressionism like this is kind of fun to do this, especially those back mountains. And take a look at that with that. I like that. But have some fun with it. Put some rocks in there. You could even make a small lake in here or a small little river in there. There's a lot. It comes out of your imagination. Pull some ideas and then you know, let the rest of it come from your imagination, okay? It's a lot of fun. But click like, those of you who subscribe to it, and we have a lot more coming. I'm in a landscape right over there. I have a lot more coming. I have apples coming. We're going to do some hanging apples, some Fuji apples. They're beautiful. So I have those coming, some more roses coming, and yes, we're going to do a portrait too. Okay? All right? Lots more coming. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Okay? And I'll see you guys on the next one.